Enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. This is Mark Gallagher. And then I have my counterpart, Wade Mammon. He is going to be joining. He's going to be answering questions that you guys might have during the presentation. The first thing I'm going to ask Wade to do is to make sure that in the chat box or in the screen are our contact info. So Wade and I are perfect to reach out to if you ever have any questions, things you might need for projects or CADs, you name it. We can certainly both provide that for you. So we'll get started real quick. So Eurowall is a Florida-based company. We are located halfway between Tampa and Naples. They're in Northport, Florida, along I-75. We're about maybe a mile and a half right off I-75 and would welcome anyone to come by and come see us. We can do a showroom tour or a plant tour, and you can kind of see how these products are manufactured right here in our own backyard. Eurowall itself has been around since 2011. I started with Eurowall back when they first got started and then worked with them for a few years and then went to work for another company that's very much in this space as well. They kind of have wall in their name too, and they start with an N. So I'll let you guys kind of figure that one out. But some of the things that we hope to do today is kind of show you what Eurowall can do that maybe some of the other manufacturers can't do. And then my counterpart Wade's been with the company now probably about 5 or 6 years. Wade's got a tremendous background. He's a licensed general contractor in the state of Florida. So he understands not only the products themselves, but how they go in and how they can affect the build. So he's a great resource to reach out to as well. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. All right, lovely virtual technology. Here we go. Here's just some of the things that we're going to talk about. Obviously, anything that I say today or Wade types in the chat box is not endorsed by AIA. And then, as they said, we're going to make sure that everyone gets their credits that is on today, and we'll make sure they get the certificates as well. More legal mumbo jumbo. We don't need to focus on that. Some of the things we're going to talk about today is we're going to give you guys a better understanding definitions of what these big operable moving glass walls can do. We're going to maybe show you some different things or places you might be able to use these types of projects that you haven't thought about using them before. And then how can these large opening glass walls affect the building occupant safety and health, especially as we're coming out of the early 2020 that we all dealt with, so we're not going to talk about that, but some of these things we get into that. Some of the learning objectives we're going to talk about: uses and capability definitions. I'm not going to read them all verbatim. We're going to give you some new ideas for commercial and residential projects, how they can be an important part of form and function in your design. And then we're going to give some, like I said, some different ways these systems can be used for the occupant safe and healthy. So let's get into it. When we start talking about moving glass walls, I always like to ask the people when I'm in front of them, what do you guys consider a large opening? And I like to say anything over 9 feet, because anything that's smaller than 9 feet, you guys can do with a double set of French doors. You can do with, single swing door. You can do with an overhead garage door. There's a whole myriad of things, products that you guys have in your repertoire that you can use. But when we start talking about things larger than that, what do we like to use? And I always kind of like to start with folding. And the reason why I start with folding is because I kind of consider this, I hate to use this word, budget friendly, but it kind of is when you start talking about large moving glass walls. And the reason why is all the weight is contained within the plane of the opening. So if you're looking at the picture here, you kind of see the folding glass wall. I kind of like to compare it to a train. As a train starts to move down the track, it starts to pull the other cars with it. Well, the same thing with folding. As folding starts to move down the track, you move the first panel, the other panels come together because they're hinged to each other and they're attached at the jamb. So when you move one, the others come with it. All that weight is also contained within the plane of the opening. These panels can stack inside or outside of the opening. Now, there are some caveats to some of this, and we're going to talk about this as we've got some new products that are going to be coming down the road too. And what you're going to see here is really large systems. Depending on where you're located in the state, if you're in a HVAC zone down in South Florida, then we can't go as tall as what we normally could do, but we can still go pretty darn big. So we're talking about 12 feet tall and panel widths up to 52 inches wide. I mean, that's really, really big. And then if we're outside of that HVAC zone, we can go to 14 feet tall. some of the largest in the being manufactured right now. And here we go. Here they are right here. So impact rated, like I said, 52 inches wide. And then if you're in that non-HVAC, we can go to 14 feet tall. If you are down in, Broward, Dade, Collier, Monroe, then we do have to keep it under 12 feet or under. And the nice thing too is we're not going to handcuff you and tell you can only have certain, you got to keep 12 panels. I can only do 6 panels this way. I can only do 5 panels this way. If you want all panels to go to one way, as you're going to see here, we can have a max number of 14 panels going to either the left or the right, stacking inside or outside of that opening. So we're not going to tell you anymore, oh, you can only have, I can only do a maximum of 12 panels, but I can only split it 6 this way and 6 that way per the product approval. So everything we're talking about today has Florida product approval. So we can stack 14 panels all to one size. And I can go, like I said, HVAC, 12 feet tall, non-HVAC, I can go to 14 feet tall with Florida product approval. When we start talking about folding, one of the most important things are the sills. I always like to say everything starts and ends with the sill. If you were to come to Wade and I and start asking us, hey, I've got this opening, what do you think? Where do I need to start? Wade and I are going to ask a couple questions. We're going to say, okay, first thing is this a residential or a commercial project? And the reason why we're going to ask that is because anything residential or anything commercial, we know we have to meet ADA standards, but anything that's residential, we can do some things that we can give you a better water rating. So if you look at this sill that's on the left-hand side here, that standard sill, you're going to notice it has a little bit of a riser on there. For those of you who've been in Florida for a while, anytime that we have a moving glass wall, we always have a little bit of a sill riser there to keep the water pressure, to maintain that water pressure. So, but one of the things that we're going to ask you is if we can do an outward swing, then we can bring that finished floor where you're looking and you see that 2¼ inches, we can bring that finished floor up to the top there. So that way it's just a natural step down. And that way you're not going to have any kind of trip hazard. If their opening is covered and you tell us that there's no exposure to the elements, then there's a couple things we can change. We can put in a modified sill. It doesn't have a water rating the way it's located there, but then we can have finished floor from interior to exterior where it's flush. And then with the ADA sill for commercial applications or even for residential, we have people that want both. We can use this sill right here. Now, and then the channel sills for anything non-impact rated or for interior use. But the great thing is we have water management kit. So if you have an opening that's exposed to the elements, or you want to use this modified sill or an ADA sill, and you came to Wade and I and said, hey, I need to make sure I do a really good job of keeping water out of these sills. What do we have? And, Wade and I are going to say, hey, help us understand the surrounding conditions. Is there a deco drain? Is there a French drain? Can we add one? Because if we can, then we can use the water management kit where we can pipe that in. I told you guys I worked with a few other companies, and we were probably one of the few that actually offers water management solutions. We're going to give the weeping details. We're going to help you guys throughout the whole build. We're going to sit down with the general contractor so we can understand, most important thing, how are we going to keep water away from the opening? So we do have some solutions and we do have some things, and these are things that you can reach out to Wade and I separately, and we can kind of give you a little more further details on how we can make this happen. But you can see each of these sills have the ability to have the water management system. Now, this is the one on the standard sill on the left-hand side. That's what I was talking about. So if you had the interior floor where it's built up to the top of the sill riser, there's a natural step down, then there's no trip hazard. Now, in this particular application, I don't know if the water management system would be ideal because you're going to see that the face of that sill is exposed to the outside. There, we're going to say the best solution for that is let's put weep holes in, because then we can have it just weep right out into the pavers or to the concrete, and there's no issue. Same thing on the right-hand side with the standard modified sill. But if we have what's called a full embedded sill, this is where the water management system is ideal, because you're going to know that you're going to look, there's no way to really weep that water out. Because if it goes we weep it out the front, it's just going to go right into the channel, fill back into the sill, and it's not going to get out of there. But with a full embedded sill with the water management system, we can get that water out to the deco drain, to a drainage channel, to French drain, wherever. The And here's just more details on the thermally broken. So the thermally broken systems for a non-impact in the state of Florida, exact same details as were for the impact rated system as well. I don't want to be redundant, but you'll see it's the exact same setup. With the full embed, we offer the same water management. Now with folding configurations, anytime you have a folding system, if you have an odd number, that's a swing door. So if it was panel 1, 3, 5, 11, 13, that's going to be a swing door. If you have a commercial application and you want the ability to be able to have panic and a closer, Wade and I are always going to ask you to kind of put that door at the jamb. And the reason why we're going to do that is because of that closer. You know, if you're dealing with a 10-foot tall, 12-foot tall system, 14-foot tall system, and you have a closer on there, it's going to be really hard to go up and release that thing if you had it in the middle of the run. If you look on the right-hand side and you look 4 of the configurations down, you're going to see that swing door that's right in the middle. We can put a panic device there. We just can't put a closer there because someone would have to go up and release that point because the closer is attached to the header, and it just makes it difficult. We are also probably one of the only companies that actually has tested our folding system with a panic device. So moving forward, anytime that you ask for a panic device on your folding system in the state of Florida, we can actually provide that. That means that we're going to prep the door. The hardware is going to be all integrated inside the panels. There's no surface mounted devices. It's not hardware by others. This is going to be a complete system. And this has complete Florida product approval. So that's really important. Different configurations. So postless corner, if you look at the top left-hand corner, if you had a 90-degree corner, whether it was an inward or outward corner, we could do that with folding. What you're going to see here, it's actually 2 systems. So you're going to have one system that's going to go when in the open configuration is going to go to the jamb at the top, and then the one on the bottom is going to go to the adjacent jamb. So that way you have a complete open corner. There's no post there. There's no structure. Everything is completely open. And as I said, we can do this with inward or outward corner. The bottom, the radius. This is a radius folding wall. You've seen we showed 2 examples. We show a folding door in the middle, a swing door in the middle, or at the end. So this is actually a continuous radius curve that's in the track and the header. It's not a segmented curve. If you've ever dealt with some of the other systems by some of the other manufacturers that do a radius wall, they'll do what's called a segmented curve. So that means that the track kind of comes together in puzzle pieces. So as you put it together and then you're putting it into the opening, you'll see kind of cut marks in the track. Two different situations there that can cause. Anytime you have cuts in the track, it could lead to possible leak situation because now you're having to mechanically join those segmented cuts, and then also dirt. So we actually take ours to a company in Texas that actually will put it on a CNC bender, so that way it's a continuous bend. There's no segmented there. The panels themselves can be anywhere from the 12 to 14 feet tall, and then the tightness of the radius, really the smallest radius we can do is a 7.5 degree, which is still pretty tight. But as the radius gets tighter, you're going to notice the panels actually get a little bit narrower. And I'm going to show you some examples of those pictures here in just a second. Oh, I got a little ahead of myself. And the most important one, the one that Wade loves the most, is the split height. And what this is you can take a full-size bifolding door with a counter height bifolding door, bring them together. But then when you open them up, there's no post, there's no structure there. This meets all the air and water requirements for the state of Florida for the product approval. So that way you have the ability to do this. Now, the cool thing is we just started playing around with this. You see the postless corner on right next to it. We can do a split height configuration with the postless corner. So you could have a full walkthrough on the top part that will go to the opposite corner, and then a countertop that will fold to the opposite jamb. Great for residential, great for hospitality, for restaurants when you're doing an outdoor bar configuration. So I've got a picture down here in just a little bit. I'll show you that as well. All right, I got through folding a little quicker. And now we're going to talk about multi-slide. And this is really a paradigm switch from what we've been talking about with folding. Folding, we talk about opening spaces up, connecting one space to another. Let's face it, if you're in a commercial or residential application and you're doing an exterior opening, it's hot in the state of Florida. And a lot of times people don't want to open those systems up too much, but they want to enjoy that view. So now we're going to talk about a system. As you can see here, it can do a maximum square footage with Florida product approval, 628 square feet. We're talking about panels now that are 7 feet wide, and you're going to see a recurring theme here. If we're in a non-HVAC zone, 14 feet tall. So a panel width that's 7 feet wide, 14 feet tall. Or if we're in an HVAC zone, we can go to 12 feet tall at 60 inches or 5 feet wide. So we go a little bit narrower when we're in HVAC, but we're talking about some crazy, crazy design pressure. So the design pressures now with this system are plus or minus 120. So, but the real selling feature with this is if you look at the picture on the left-hand side, that interlock, and I wish I was there with you guys so I can show you the interlock itself, is less than an inch. So imagine that that view as you're sitting there on that couch looking out to that body of water. And imagine that panel width being 7 feet wide, 14 feet tall. The aluminum interlock coming down the middle is 15, 16 inches wide, and then another 7 feet of glass. Or if we're in Miami, 5 feet wide, 15 16ths thick of aluminum, and then 5 feet on the other. So we could do a 10-foot opening with less than an inch of aluminum. So it's pretty amazing to what we can do with this system. So now this is about when you don't want to open the space up, but you want to enjoy the view with not a lot of verticals. We can now do this. And as the previous slide said, 628 square feet. Wade and I were recently on a project. It wasn't in Florida. It was up in the Hamptons, but still a hurricane zone. It was 60 feet wide and it was 11 feet tall. It was 10 panels. It was 5 panels left, 5 panels right. They motorized it. It was incredible. We've done multiple projects like this all over the state of Florida. It's a neat system to be able to now not have to worry about opening it up, but still enjoying those views. The different sill options for this are, you're going to notice here, it's a 2-inch tall track. Those panels will ride on the top. There's a channel infill that goes in there, so it's not leaving that U open. And we can, like I said, we can do, I've done 10 panels on this thing. We can do up to an 8-track. If we're doing an interior application, we have that system that's on the sill that's on the right-hand side. This actually sits on the concrete floor, so it doesn't need to be embedded. The exterior sill is going to be embedded, and I'm going to show you some different options for that here in just a second. Different configurations. We have the one that we're all familiar with, which is an OXXO, meaning there's 2 fixed panels on the ends and they open bipart in the middle to slide open. The one thing I am going to point out is, and I wish I was there in front of you to show you, is you're going to keep hearing me talk about 15 16ths of an inch interlock. But the thing I want to point out is when you have 2 panels that come together as like an OXXO or an OXXXO, you guys get the drift. That locking style in the middle is going to be 2 1/4 inches per panel. So, and I'll show you a picture of that here in just a few. In this configuration, to maintain that 15 16ths, Wade and I are always going to ask you to do an XXXX configuration. So that way they lock on the jamb. But if you do have a design intent where it has to open in the middle, I just want to point that out and make sure that you see that. So I'll show you those examples here in just a second. This can be a postless corner, just like folding. It can open inward or outward corner, so that way there's no structure. This also can be done as a split height configuration. So if you wanted to use a sliding on a bar top and have it go into a pocket and then slide on a full walkthrough, no issues whatsoever. Here are the sill configurations. So just like the folding, it can have a water management as well. But what you're going to see here is at the top, no embed, where it's just sitting right on the concrete floor. There is a little bit of that riser that we're all used to with any kind of sliding door system. We're going to weep it out the front. We're going to provide those weep details for you and for the contractor to make sure they know where it's going to go per the product approval. If we have a half embed where you're bringing the interior floor up to the top, you're going to notice there's no trip hazard whatsoever. So strap down. one thing I want to point out here, though, in between the sill risers that you're looking here is what you have the ability is really to make this track disappear. You can put infill. So if you're using tile, concrete, whatever, we can put that in between the track. So that way that track totally disappears and it makes it an ADA compliant track. The full embed on the right-hand side as well. So that way you've got finished floor from interior to exterior. You've got complete infill in there. So that way it meets total ADA compliance. The weep system goes in. So that way we can get the water out just like folding. This is a great application for interior. We do these a lot for conference rooms now because of the ability to have these big wide panels with not a lot of aluminum. Plus they have great sound reduction capability. So say you had an interior conference room where it was a hallway and then there were exterior windows to the building. If you wanted the way to be able to bring natural light into this conference room, I just recently did 2 in Atlanta, a law office, where the exact application, the interior conference room was kind of a little bit dark. They had just regular storefront with a swing door, interior storefront system. They wanted the ability to be able to open it up and to bring natural light in there, but it was important too to make sure that confidentiality was maintained. So they wanted a system that had a nice STC rating. So this met all the bill, and then it allowed them to bring in that natural light, but not with a lot of aluminum, because they could have 7-foot wide panels by 11 feet tall on this particular opening. It was really cool. All right, pivot doors. So we're going to switch gears again and go to a pivot situation. So this started out for us as a residential product, but it quickly changed into a commercial, and you'll see why here in just a second. Again, the reoccurring theme for us in Florida, non-HVAC. You guys can guess it, 14 feet tall. Down in South Florida, where we're in the HVAC zone, we have to keep that at 12 feet tall. Panel widths, again, 7 feet wide for non-HVAC. And then HVAC, we're going to go a little bit narrower. But you're going to see here just a big door, the ability to swing. Pivot point on this, it can swing in or out, and we can bring it anywhere from 7.5 inches from the jamb all the way to middle point of the door opening at 50%. Here again, you're just kind of seeing the ability of this door. Wade actually did a project, and it was 100 inches wide. I wish he wasn't muted. He could tell you a little bit about it. But the ability to be able to have a pivot door in Florida that could swing 100 inches, it was pretty amazing. The one that's on the right-hand side, this 3-panel configuration, led to an interesting conversation that we had. If you look at it, you're going to see 3 pivot doors with 3 individual pivot doors with structure in between. They wanted the ability, the architect came to us and said, hey, we like this configuration, but we want the ability to be able to have 1 door system, 1 door frame, but 3 doors, because we have an event space where we want to be able to open, these doors, get people in and out of these event spaces rather quickly, and then close it down, have some sound reduction, but more is about, traffic, moving traffic around. So we started thinking about it, and we looked at it and started testing it and found out no issue. And I'll show you a diagram here in just a second. Different types of infill that's available for all our products. What you're going to see here is privacy glass on the door on the left-hand side, different simulated divided lights. We can do actually a full, complete wood door look. It's still going to have glass in there because that's how it was tested, but we'll put these divided lights all the way across the panels. You can reach out to Wade and I, and we'll show you some different things offline. For interior applications that you're looking on the right-hand side, there's no sill with this door. So it makes it perfect for that interior application. For exterior applications, if you do have something, we're going to ask you guys to make sure that there's significant overhang for this, to make sure that any wind-driven rain is not going to get through the opening. And here's just, left-hand swing. You're going to see here it swings either in or outside of the opening. Obviously, anything with the left-hand swing, we can do right hand as well. This is that diagram I was telling you about that we came in through. They wanted the ability to have basically a central pivot on this to be able to swing these doors open in this event space, so that way they could bring these people inside and out. It was a great interior application that worked perfectly. Now, you heard me say that, if you had significant overhang for exterior applications, we can do the pivot door. It's got no water rating. And we have tested it with the water management kit. So if you look here, we can actually turn a pivot door into a water rated door. We're not going to publish it. We're not going to state it, but we have played with it and tested it. And we have found this to have about a 4 PSF of water for a door with no sill. And what happens is you take this particular door and you put the water management kit in there, you recess it below, and then you bring your finished floor, the tile, and you'll just have it to where it creates kind of a shadow line in there along the whole width of the door. That water system's there. Now, I kind of prefer the application on the right-hand side, because that way the water management system is just underneath the panel of the door itself, right in front of the door sweeps. So that way, when the door's closed, especially in a residential application, you're not going to see the shadow line in the floor. It's going to be hidden underneath the sweeps. But any kind of wind-driven rain that will possibly get through the sweeps is going to get collected into the water management, goes into the deco drain or the French drain, and keeps away from the interior of the home. All right, stacking doors. Stacking doors are something completely different. They have no product approval whatsoever for the state of Florida. So if you're doing something for an interior application or where you are not protecting the envelope of the building, this is a great system. It's a top supported single track system that where the panels are individual of each other and they slide independently and can go outside of the plane of the opening and will store into a remote parking bay. This was a golf club right outside of Atlanta, where they had an event space where they wanted to climatize the air, even though it has no thermal properties, but they wanted the ability to be able to keep, in the summertime, if they were running air conditioning in there, it would keep some of the air in there, or in the wintertime, if they were heating the space, the same space. But they had this event space that they could only use a few months out of the year for weddings, and had a great view overlooking the 18th green and the lake there. This is at Atlanta Athletic Club. So now it's 268 feet of all glass system. It's captured top and bottom by aluminum, and now stacks into a remote parking bay. So on, nice fall day or spring day, they can open that thing up and have those views. But when it's not so nice, they can close it down and still get the benefit and the revenue from that space. And like I said, if you're not protecting the envelope of the building, if you look at the picture on the right-hand side, I've done a few projects down in Coral Gables where they had the lanai and they were using it as a windscreen, or a restaurant application on a patio or deck where they wanted to create that windscreen where you could sit outside, enjoy the views, and not have those the winds coming through that would impede enjoying the outside. On the interior application, great for conference rooms, for home offices, where you want to close some space off. Doesn't have an STC rating, but the ability to knock some of the sound down to give you the privacy. You guys have all had clients where you worked with them, and they know what they want. They're going to get it. They don't care how much it costs. But I was working with a designer in Miami, and they were dealing with a NBA player. And I don't know much. I don't play pool very often, but this guy in his home had a pool table. And what was unique about the pool table is an all glass pool table. I know a few times that I've played pool, I had balls flying everywhere, and the thought of a billiard ball hitting a glass table and chipping it kind of scared me. But he wanted the ability to be able to close his space off with no verticals, an all glass system. So as you walked into the foyer of his house, you had a view of his pool table. So this was a perfect application. So it just gives you a lot of flexibility. Here's the other lanai I was telling you about. Great windscreen, the ability to be able to open it up, enjoy the pool, and have that in patio space. But then here again, the ability to close off areas inside your home as well, or your office. There's two systems. So we can do an all glass system, or we can do a frame system. The all glass system is going to max out at 12 feet tall. This can be done with either 1/2 inch tempered glass or with 1-inch thick tempered glass. We can also do it with laminated glass as well. And then we have a frame system that is a single track sliding system that can go to 14 feet tall. Panel widths, extremely wide, over 60 inches wide on these. So the ability to retail spaces and things like that, where you want to close things off, great application. And as I said, these things stack remotely outside of the opening. So you can get 100% use of the opening now, where with folding or sliding, you only got a partial use of that opening because it would stack or open inside the plane of the opening. But now you have the ability to stack these panels outside. They can go into a closet, they can go down the hall and be stored completely out. If you look at the bottom diagram, you're going to notice there's a swing door. So the swing door is going to be at the jamb. It will open 180 degrees, and then it allows the panels to go into the parking bay, and then the panel will close on top of it. And that way you get almost 100% use of the opening there. If there's no swing door needed, all the panels can go into the parking bay, and then you get 100% use of that opening. And the different stacking configurations that are available. So this one is what we call a parallel stack. It's offsets to the wall, so it's going to come out of the opening, and then it's going to go right into that parallel stack. And then we also have a perpendicular stack that you see down at the bottom. Tons of flexibility with this because this thing can have multiple angle changes. It can turn 90-degree corners, 135. It can do a 90-degree into 135. It's just a ton of flexibility here with this particular system. Also, no track with this. So there's no sill, there's no nothing. The panels are locked into place with what we call a floor socket. The floor socket is about the size of a quarter. Goes into the floor. So that way when the panels are there, you engage it with the little twin point or plunger lock. And then there's a dust cover on the floor socket. So that way when the system's open, the little dust cover comes up and you're not looking at a hole in the floor, which is kind of nice. All right, where can we use these different systems that we've talked about? Let's see. As you can see here, counter units, great for residential applications, but also for hospitality restaurants. I just ate at a restaurant last week where they had a folding system on a bar top. Opened it up in a matter of seconds and were able to start serving patrons. But here you see the multi-slide on the bottom and folding on the top. Here's a picture of the cornerless systems for both folding and sliding. The one that's on the bottom, the multi-slide, that one can actually go into a pocket, so you get almost 100% use of that opening as well. So tons of flexibility with that. Here's the split height configuration. I wish we had it open so that way you could see that there's no post, no structure, no mole bar there, anything to tie that into. Still meets all the air and water requirements for the Florida product approval as well. The radius. So if you want to blow your screen up a little bit, you'll see that that track is a continuous radius bend in there. There's no segmented breaks in there. This is an inward stack and radius system that they paired with a transom window above, which is a neat application. Just commercial. We're going to look at some different applications now for residential and commercial. Let's talk about tech. So everybody wants a system to be able to be motorized. Let's see if I can get this thing to work. There we go. So the one system that can be automated right now is the sliding system, the multi-slide. So this is one of our older products that we had this on, a lift and slide product, but this works great with the minimal frame slider that's 15/16. Push of a button. I was working with a client down in Miami. Not going to lie, he wanted a dog door, and he wanted his dog to be able to go in and out of the door. They put a tile on the dog's collar. The dog could walk up to it. The sensor was about 18 inches off the ground, off the floor. The door would open about 2 feet. Dog would walk through, and the door was timed to close right after him. There's sensors in there so that if the dog's laying in the middle of the door, a person, and it starts to close, it'll stop and go back into the open position. So it's got safety features built into it. It can be done with the app of your phone, push button, remote, or the dog tile. It's great for disabilities. Wade and I work closely with the Gary Sinise Foundation for homes for disabled vets and for first responders. And this is great because the tracks are ADA compliant. They have the ability to now open the system and they can go through, which is perfect. That's one of the things Wade and I really enjoy doing. Keypads. So even though we may not provide the hardware, we're going to work with you and your clients to find out what system's being used to make sure the doors are prepped properly, the wiring's done. They're going to send us the wiring documents, diagrams. We're going to make sure that we get it prepped, the panels prepped correctly, the frames, so that way there's no issues when they come in. They can just run their wiring and connect and go. The one system we do offer is a multi-point handle smart lock. You can open it with your phone. We're testing one right now with a thumbprint or a fingerprint, so that way you can walk up to it, open the multi-point, it will open the catches, and then you can just go in and out of the swing door. Card readers, key fobs, again, just like the keypad. You make sure we have the wiring diagrams. We'll make sure the door's prepped correctly and make sure there's no issues when install goes in. Where are we going to use these things? You keep hearing me talk about hospitality, restaurant, and bars. Wade and I, we were in Charleston last week, and we picked a restaurant right there downtown, had the ability to open the system up. You get to connect, from the inside to the outside. For a restaurateur, they can create more tables, more revenue. Wade did a project with a guy in Virginia, came to Wade and he asked him, wanted to know about the return on investment. Would it be worth it for him to knock the wall out and to be able to create some dining opportunities? So right there, what he had was just one system. It was a single swing door with two storefront door windows, but he wanted to create two openings. So we talked to him, we figured out, helped us understand his business. He was going to be able to add 9 tables. Those 9 tables would probably garner about $18,000 extra revenue each month. Since he was in Virginia, couldn't use that outdoor dining all the time. He'd probably get 6 to 8 months. So even on the low side, almost $120,000 of extra revenue. He found it was well worth it for him to go ahead and open that space up. So these are some of the things that we can do, is help you guys with your clients to understand what can we do to make sure that there is a return and they do see that. All right, this is one of the systems that got me excited when I left and then I came back. So Jordan there, he's 6'4". This is an impact rated system. You see palm trees in the glass, in the reflection. It's a retail location. That is a swing door that is 14 feet tall. So if you were there in front of me, I would repeat again, 14-foot tall swing door. We're not going to tell you to keep a folding door at 10 feet for a swing application. If you were to come to us and said, I got a 12-foot application that I need a swing door, we're going to say, okay, no worries. We're not going to ask you to put a swing door at the jam and then have all the folding systems go one way or the other. As you saw here, this was a three left configuration with a swing door and a commercial application. So you can imagine how many times this door has been opened and closed. It's been in place now for 18 months and we've had no issues with it whatsoever. And when I saw this, when I came back, this was what got me excited, because there's so many times I had to beg or plead and ask you guys to take your design and bring it down to 10 foot for a swing door due to limitations. So now the design cuffs are coming off. If you want to go 12 feet tall with a swing door and HVAC, I'm going to tell you yes. If you ask Wade if you can go 14 feet tall in Jacksonville, the Panhandle, Tampa, he's going to say yes, no problem. Libraries, all these systems have the ability to not only have Florida product approval, but we do a ton of interior applications. We have STC testing that we've done on all these systems. So to make sure that if you want to close spaces off, classrooms are huge right now. The ability for a teacher to open and close a classroom to create, collaborative learning with another classroom and then close things down. Media centers, club rooms and things like that inside schools, just a ton of flexibility. Here again, you're going to see this fella. He's going to close this wood folding system. Look how wide those panels are. You see how easily he's engaging a twin point locked. What that does, it throws the internal locks that are built inside the frame into the channel, so it locks them in place. He's going to close this quickly and get that down. And then there's a swing door right in the middle. So the systems we have a wood clad systems. All our systems are aluminum, but we have the ability to clad the exterior that you can actually paint and stain that clad. Our standard clads are a mahogany, sapelli mahogany, and a white oak. And then we have a bunch of other species that are available as well for special order. And we can do the faux wood as well for exterior applications. Event spaces, again, just opening spaces, creating more opportunity to host more people in a particular space. Fitness centers, these are big, especially after COVID, being able to open spaces up. People want to work and get the, the outdoors in, especially if you're in a nice area, enjoy that. Hospitals. I've done a couple treatment centers, and then I've also done some retail areas inside hospitals, and then dining, cafeterias and things like that. So a lot of opportunities there as well. We're in Florida, amusement parks everywhere. So we've got a couple projects we're doing at Universal. We just got one going into Disney. So just tons of opportunity there because of the ADA sills, the ease of use, the heights, and things like that. This was a project that I did up in New Jersey. Interior application, you can see there, it's a 10-foot tall door. It's a little over 6 feet wide. You can see how quickly and easily he opened that. And they paired that with an overhead door. So on a nice day, they could get all that natural air. That's an employee lounge, comes in down the hallway into the offices, and just the ability to open that space up. Resorts and clubs. This was one that Wade worked extensively on up and down the west coast of Florida there. He can give you some details on that one. Boca Bay. Car dealerships. We do a ton of car dealerships. This is in Sarasota. The ability to be able to bring inventory in and out of a car dealership now is huge. This was a system there's 2 units in there, one facing east, one facing west. It's an ADA sill. You'll see it there. We've had no issues with water penetration or anything like that. And I wish, again, I was there in front of you so you can see our sills and you can see how thick they are. The ability to drive over this with their inventory. In fact, I just did a bus depot, and you know how big and heavy buses are. So they're able to drive those buses over this particular sill with not damaging the sill was very important to them. This is Wade's project. It's his little baby up in Charleston. And what they did here is they took a combination of folding and sliding. And one of the things I want you to look at is on the suite boxes, they use the folding system and they utilize the panic device from the outside. So that way you can get back into the space if you were to get trapped out there. And you're going to see it here in just a second. There it is. So all the luxury boxes have folding, and then all the press boxes have sliding systems with the minimal frame, the 15/16. So that way, if it's closed, they're not looking at a lot of aluminum and they can still see what's going on the court. This space is utilized obviously for tennis, but it's a big event space for concerts and other venues just right outside of Charleston. And there's the multi-slide for the press boxes. Right there's the meeting I was telling you guys about. So if you had an OXXO, it's a great picture right there where you see the locking styles come together. It's a little bit thicker. Residential. We started off as a residential company. We've done projects all over the state of Florida, all over the country now. But we're still probably I'd say about 65% of what we do is residential. The rest is commercial, and commercial's growing fast. All right. Sustainable design, large openings. Obviously, hospitality. There's a picture of the panic device. You're going to notice that we'll incorporate that. I've talked about that a few times. If your design is doing something architectural or historical, or your design intent is to have architectural muttons, not an issue. We can do raised, we can do flat. We have different thicknesses, sizes that are available to put on there. Not an issue whatsoever, and that can be done on all our systems. This is another one. Wade's big projects. Wade likes the country clubs. The ability to be able to open spaces up, maximum daylight and air that can come in and out of these spaces. Here's the nice system of a radius. So this is what I was telling you about the radius system. You'll notice that that radius has got a slight bend to it. So you can see how wide these panels are. Those panels right there are a little over 4 feet wide. And then incorporating the minimal multi-slide with some butt glass on the fixed wall units by the fireplace. Window units up in the panhandle, the ability to have a smaller unit. We get asked all the time, do we do windows? And we start to say no, because we don't do the traditional style of window that you guys are used to, whether it be single hungs, horizontal rollers, or casements. But we use our folding systems all the time. They make the perfect window because you can now open it up and have a big space to enjoy that view. Here's a picture as well that kind of shows what I was talking about with the locking styles on the multi slide. So you'll notice there in the middle, the 15/16, but when it comes together and closed, it's 5 inches. And I just want to point that out, and just to be upfront and honest, but they did an interesting application here where they took the multi-slide, paired it with overhead garage doors, but then just being able to open things up, and you can kind of see the difference. And I'm kind of like this, that they did this, that you see all the glass on the sliding wall, but with the overhead doors, you see all the verticals there, and it just kind of takes away from the views of what's going around. Here's Wade's beach house with architectural muttons, small spaces. Anti-theft. We have forced AMDA testing for all our systems. There's nothing worse than leaving a space and coming back the next day or after dinner and to find it wasn't the way you left it, especially for retail applications. You know, the pull down screens that we all see at retail locations, they're not the safest because you're having to pull it, bend down, lock it, or unlock it. So you're kind of exposing yourself to what's behind you. Now you can just walk up to it with a key because it has a keyed cylinder, open it in the standing position, still see what's going on around you, open the door, come in, lock it, and then when you're ready to open for business, you can, matter of seconds, have a system open with the different tracks. You can slide retail racks and other things over those tracks into the selling space. So the different types of glass we use, we'll talk about that too. If you've ever had an opportunity to see something get tested, you know how cool it is. If you haven't, I would highly recommend it. So for the testing for Florida, you know, it was very stringent. For HVAC testing, they fire that thing 4 times at the glass, 4 times at the frame. Non-HVAC, it's 3 times. Then they cycle test it with the jet engine. So it's really cool. You kind of see what these systems go through to maintain and that Florida product approval. It's just really cool to see it. Impact rated glass. So we glaze with a 1/4 inch glass. And why is that important? Because a lot of the other manufacturers in the state use 7/16 or 3/16, and it really handcuffs you to the type of glass that you can use in your design. So if you want low iron glass, if you want blue glass, green glass, a lot of the float manufacturers, excuse me, now this thinnest glass that they'll fabricate now is 1/4 inch. So it really limits you to some of these specialty glasses like the low iron, the blues, and the greens. So with us being at a 1/4 inch, 9/16 or 1 inch insulated impact, we're not going to say, hey, you can't do blue, you can't do low iron. We're going to say yes. There's nothing worse than I've had to do it before, is go back and beg an architect to change their glass spec for 1 or 2 openings on a folding system because, you know, the only glass we can get is 3/16 and it won't meet the low iron glass. So now I'm not going to, you know, if you say you want to do it, just like the tall swing door, Wade and I are going to say sure thing. Panic Hardware, I've talked about that with Florida product approval. We're not taking the testing from the hardware company and pairing it with our door. We've actually tested it now, so that way it's all integrated and it's one system that's coming through, which is super, super important. Healthy living, fresh air. You know, everybody loves to be able to, on a nice day, especially now temperatures are dropping a little bit, open systems up just to air out your space and connect to the inside and the outside. Biophilia, I had to look that word up when I first looked at this, but it's connecting with nature. And we all want to do that. You know, we all love getting outside and connecting and, you know, getting a little vitamin D exposure. There's nothing wrong with that. Kind of crazy, but actually it improves sleep. If we're exposed to more natural light from the sun. We did a sleep study, which I know sounds crazy. And if you saw the presentation maybe 2 years ago that Levi did, he talked about the sleep study that they did, and they took an office, and for 3 weeks they exposed people to a typical Florida summer day with natural light, tons of light, and then did a sleep study on them. And then they came back for 3 weeks and they made it look like a buffalo winter. And then they did the sleep study. And what they found is people that are exposed to more natural light get into a circadian rhythm quicker. They get into a REM pattern of sleeping, so they get more natural, they get better sleep. That means I get about 4 hours a night, so I must not. I need to get outside more. Focus, healthy living with learning. A lot of these classrooms. That's if you look now, all over the country, they're finding ways to open up spaces because they want these kids to be exposed to more natural air and light. There's studies that have been done to show these kids retain more, they absorb more, better test scores. Obviously, doctor always says get outside, you'll recover better. So if we can expose them to more natural light, more natural air, I think that's just better for everybody. Productivity. I know back Wade laughed because he just moved into a new house and he moved his office to his back deck, and he says he gets more done because he's exposed to more natural light instead of being in a cave. And I would agree with that. Athletics, we just showed you the stadium video. Whether you're there, you want to be connected. If you're sitting in a box, the whole reason of opening spaces up, you want to be connected to what's going on the playing field. Same thing with being outdoors. All these football stadiums now, they're putting them with roofs. They want to open the roofs up to bring more natural air and light in there. It's just what we're seeing. So here's some of the things we talked about. I know we talked on a lot. One of the things I want to talk about is the differences between us and some of the others is our paint finishes. Our paint finishes are a standard 2605 Kynar paint. Our standard paint colors are white, black, bronze, and Arcadia silver to mimic clear anodized. These have a 10-year warranty. These are standard. You don't have to ask for them. You're going to get them. Everything is stainless steel. You're going to get that as well. You don't have to ask for a coastal package. We're manufactured in Florida. We manufacture for the Florida environment. I know what you're thinking. Oh my gosh, these things are already expensive as they is. And now you guys are telling me your standard paint finish is a Kynar and stainless steel. As I told you, I worked for the other company. I know that we are probably typically about 20 to 30% less than some folks. Just for ideas, you're probably looking at, say, a 10-foot tall folding system. You're looking at maybe about $1,000 to $1,200 a linear foot. So some of those other guys, you're looking at about $2,000 a linear foot. So if you ever have a need to kind of see where budgets are, please reach out to Wade and I will be happy to give budget quotes. We'll happy to provide drawings. We can do things in CAD. If you want to see what do these systems look like, open, closed, what's my DLO, what's my stack depth, these are things that Wade and I can provide for you guys. Anything you need, just please reach out to us. And I certainly appreciate you all joining today. I hate that we couldn't do this in person, but if you do also want to do something in your office, you've got Wade and I's contacts. We could set something up where we can do another presentation and we can meet with some of your colleagues. We'll bring lunch in and kind of show you some of the samples in person. So that way you can see those as well. So I certainly appreciate it. And I hope everybody had a great day. And if you have questions, please still continue to put them in and we'll make sure we answer them. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mark. Yes, we have been monitoring the questions, and it looks like Wade's been doing a phenomenal job getting them answered in real time. But we do have a few minutes if anybody has any additional questions and want to post them for Mark and Wade. They'll be happy to take them. If not, you have their contact information, and you can certainly reach out to them individually. And also, again, as a reminder, all the material that you're seeing today and tomorrow is available to you in the resources tab that you should have on your screen. So many more opportunities to interact with our speakers. Oh, look, there's a couple questions coming in. And yeah, Mark or Wade, if you want to just shout out your email address, I know it's in the chat, but you're welcome to give that to it, or else I can. It's Wade at eurowall.com. So that would be WADE at EURO-WALL.com. And then Mark is Mark G at euro-wall.com. All right. Looks like we're about ready to switch to our next presenter. So everybody take a quick stretch break. We're going to get our next presenter set up, and we'll start back at 11:25.
Ah, oh, my speaker. Mute yourself. I answered 30 and 30. Oops.
Yeah, it looks